Can you guys believe it's been a year since the Nintendo Switch was revealed? Well, probably because you're both here with me right now, and I told you why.
I will say that when you first brought up the idea that, hey, we should do this discussion because it has been a year since the Nintendo Switch was revealed, I'm like, wait, it's been that long already? And it's like, kind of blew my mind. I mean, I'm used to it now, but yeah, it's weird.
Isn't that weird? I know you had the same reaction too, Ash, right?
No, yeah, I literally did not even realize until you mentioned it in our chat, and I'm like, whoa, has it really been a year already? And here I am thinking that Nintendo was supposed to have long gone third party by now. I mean, God, everyone thought they'd be doomed by now, but they're still kicking, and not only that, but they're doing great.
Well, they are doomed now. They have Doom on the Switch, so
very nice.
They've been more doomed than ever before.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is the most weird. It's the weirdest thing. It does not feel like a year since we found out what the Switch was. Yet, when I went back and rewatched the reveal trailer or the reveal, announcement thing, I'm like, oh yeah, that does actually feel like at least a year ago. It almost feels longer to me. So I don't know, it's so weird. Partially because I think we've been talking about what was the NX for so long before we knew what the Switch was, that for as long as we've known what the Switch officially is, it doesn't feel like that great of a period of time, I suppose. I don't know.
Yeah, kind of like that. I mean, we talked about the NX for so long, sifting through rumors, trying to figure out exactly what it was, and then we finally got this trailer revealing, yeah, some of the rumors were true. This is what it's capable of. This is what the big gimmick is. And I remember being super excited about it, seeing it in action, seeing what it could do. I'm like, yeah, that'd be really cool. But I was also really worried about the fact that I wouldn't get to use handheld mode too often. Mm-hmm. And I'm happy to say that I have. I mean, not as much as some other people, but I've still used it quite a bit.
I've gotten so much use out of my Switch in pretty much exactly, or many of the similar ways that you see in the reveal trailer. Like, I will say that in my first year of, almost a year of Switch ownership, I have definitely used it mostly, I would say probably 70% TV mode, but I use it in handheld mode quite a bit.
That is the interesting thing about the reveal trailers. When you go back, they didn't really oversell it. I mean, how they portray the Switch is pretty much how I use it, almost one-to-one for the scenes. Mine is maybe the rooftop party and the and the NBA break, or the basketball break. No, like I've used it outside the house. I've used it, I've brought it to parties. I've played it on an airplane at the airport. Like, you watch the reveal trailers, like, man, they actually completely nailed how people are using the Switch. Now, I will straight up admit, I actually kind of, as I touched on in the initial reveal trailer, I'm more of a at-home gamer, and I said, I don't know how much the Switch is going to appeal to me in that, in that sense. That kind of held true for me. It hasn't completely changed how or where I play the games, more specifically. Yet, I still really appreciate what it is, because it's given me a sense of freedom now that I didn't have before with any of the previous consoles, where even if I mostly play at home now, even within that context, it's super convenient, because now, my roommate, for instance, has a really nice 4K, like, giant TV, and yeah, I know the Switch isn't 4K, but I can just bring my Switch to the living room now, dock it into his dock, and play it there if I want, and bring it back to my room when I have to do work. And I can bring it home for the holidays and plug into my dad's Switch. I can try out all the games, or into his dock, so you can try out all the games I've gotten since he last tried, since he last played it. It's, like, so convenient that even if I'm not actively making use of, in handheld form, I still love what it's capable of.
Yeah, absolutely. Just being able to bring it with me, like if I need to refer back to something during a review, I can just easily have it right next to me, sort of like I did with my 3DS whenever I did 3DS reviews. It's really convenient. And I mean, just more recently, when I went up to my trip to New York, I'm on the train. The first time I went to New York, I was playing mostly indie games, so I was like, okay, this kind of feels like the 3DS. This time, I was playing Fire Emblem Warriors, and wow, it kind of finally dawned on me. It's like, I'm playing a console experience on a train. Mm-hmm. That's kind of awesome.
I had that experience earlier this year with Breath of the Wild, because I took a trip to Japan with my wife in April, and that was, basically just a month after Breath of the Wild came out, and the flight to Japan is a good 10 hours one way, if not more. I think it's like 12 hours one way, 9 hours the way back, at least for us it was. And I had that experience where I'm like, man, I'm sitting here, and I put in I think across both flights, a good 10 to 12 hours of dedicated progress time in Breath of the Wild. I'm like, this is a console game. This is a console style experience. It didn't feel pared down for this, playing on handheld mode at all. Even playing at 720p, it didn't feel like a downgrade to me. And I'm just like, wow, I'm making progress in this massive, massive Zelda game on a flight from the US to Japan, like I have a console with me. So yeah, no, in that sense, I don't feel as if Nintendo oversold the concept of the Switch at all. I think the only part of the Switch that may have been oversold based on that trailer is the kickstand, which we all now know is pretty flimsy. It's kind of a piece of crap. I use this thing in handheld mode a lot, and it's such a comfortable handheld. It just feels great to play.
It doesn't feel like a handheld. Like, it feels like you're holding a proper controller almost, that's allowing you to play console caliber games. I agree. Obviously, the Switch is compromised to be both a handheld and console, but it doesn't really feel like it. It's not constantly reminding me of the compromises they had to make. When I'm playing a 3DS, like, I'm never once for a second thinking, oh, this is anything, you know, I'm never thinking this is anything but a handheld. Like, you can tell it's a handheld. With the Switch, it really does feel like a console. And conversely, when you're playing it as a console, I also don't feel like it's that greatly compromised in terms of, like, horsepower, for instance. I've been completely content with how, like, the games have looked and played on the Switch. For me, the gap between the Switch and its competitors feels far less than it did from, you know, between the Wii and, at the time, the Xbox and PS3.
Yeah, absolutely. It's never once crossed my mind, like, it might be a little underpowered, especially, again, thanks to these more recent events, actually getting to play Doom, Skyrim, that, granted, it's a 6-year-old game, but especially Doom. I still want to focus on Doom. How that game feels great.
Yeah.
It should not feel great, like, when you're thinking about what it's really capable of, but it does its job well, and I don't think about that difference. As you said, Andre, it feels like much less of a difference than we saw with the Wii.
Mm-hmm. It does, and I love the Wii, don't get me wrong, but there was a very clear gap in power there, and whereas, yeah, that still exists on the Switch, it doesn't feel like it anymore, or to that same extent. So, yeah, we're reaching a point where, like, I value now the convenience and portability of the Switch over, you know, better graphics. Like, I mean, and it's not just that, too. I love how small it is. I love how portable it is, obviously. Like, I want every future console to be the size of the Switch, and that's probably not going to happen. But, like, for me, that would be ideal. Like, I like everything about the Switch. It's so easy just to take it anywhere with you.
I don't know if I'm ready to say that it would, like, you know, replace the need for other consoles. Like, I mean, I do definitely like having a dedicated home console, such as the PS4 Pro, that can really, really push those super graphically intensive games. But 95% of the rest of the time, like, I mean, that's... The games I'm playing on Switch look way more than good enough to me. Like, I'm never, like you were saying, Derek, I have never sat down and played at least a first-party Switch game and been like, man, I wish this looked better. No way. And to be fair, I felt that way about a lot of Wii U games, too. I mean, like, you know, Smash Wii U, even the original version of Mario Kart 8, I'm just, you know, playing those. I'm like, God, why are people complaining about the Wii U being underpowered? Because these games look great. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, that's down to Nintendo's engineers being very creative in the way they covered for the Wii U's lack of horsepower. And, you know, we can see some of that evident in the Switch as well, because we know, you know, obviously the Switch, I think we know it hovers somewhere around the Xbox One in terms of power, maybe a little lower. But again, that doesn't matter. You know, it may not always work out that way. Like, you know, we're ramping up to Sonic Force's release, and that's looking like it might actually have a pretty big visual hit compared to other systems. But again, you know, like you were saying, Andre, you can't have both. And what we have here is this portable console that really does work every way as intended, as messaged in this initial reveal trailer.
Yeah, they really nailed it. I mean, when you go back and look at it, I'm impressed again with just how well they conveyed the idea of the Switch. Like, we were wondering what it was, and something they could have easily muddled like they did with the Wii U, where I think people still don't fully know what that console was supposed to be. Yeah. But the Switch, they completely nailed it. Like, it sold the idea, it showed you why you want this idea, and now I'm seeing how that's fitting into my own life, and I'm really liking it. Like, I'm playing games I may not have bought otherwise, because I like having them on the Switch. Like Stardew Valley, for instance, is a game I could have played on the PC. I'm not a huge PC gamer. I could play on my roommate's PS4, but the Switch feels like a perfect platform for it, because that is a game where I can just hop in and play anywhere. You know, I started playing it on the plane to New York for the when we went to the Nintendo World Championships, and now I'm playing at home on my TV, you know, between my own room and my roommate's TV. So it's I just love that.
It's definitely had an effect on me, because I've always been a major proponent of physical releases, and maybe it's because you know, reviewing games and whatnot, the codes is what Nintendo sends us. But for the most part, I've not bought a single physical release on the Switch since it launched in March. The only 3 physical games I have are Zelda, Bomberman, and Mario Kart 8. That was the last purchase I did, is Mario Kart 8 physical.
My hope is that I never have to remove Zelda Breath of the Wild from the cartridge slot.
I do love buying physical, but the Switch has made a better case than any video game hardware prior, including the Vita and other systems, in my opinion, for going all digital. Like I because it's both a handheld and console hybrid, like I get that sense that I do want to have all that stuff digitally because of the handheld element. And I don't feel that way about games like, or about systems like PS4, Xbox, or even Wii U, because I'm not, I don't mind getting up and putting a disc in. In fact, I even kind of like it. It just feels right. I don't know. But with the Switch, though, I feel like, no, it's like I actually could see myself going all digital for the Switch because that it makes sense in that context so much.
Yeah.
The only issue, and I don't know if it's going to become an issue or not, but it definitely seems like it's ramping up now that third parties are getting involved in getting their games on this system, is just a lack of space. I mean, it's 32 built in, plus an additional whatever mini SD you put in there. And I think I put in a 200 gig in mine. I can't remember offhand. Maybe it was 256. Close to the largest on the market that was available. Now, they did say that it would support eventually, whenever it was released, the 2 terabyte ones, I believe, or maybe it was a single terabyte. But still, we're looking at certain releases, Doom not being able to fit on its the entire game on a cartridge, so you have to have the multiplayer element downloaded later. Having like these huge files for the NBA and FIFA games, I believe, that came out. Yet Nintendo is still able to somehow keep their file sizes down, and I really feel like they need to show other companies how they do that, because that it is going to become an issue. We're still dealing with indies and buying a bunch of indie games, but sooner or later, hopefully, the Virtual Console is going to hit, and that's going to lead to a lot of downloads as well. Now, granted, they're not huge games, but if it does have the GameCube, like was long rumored, again, it's going to fill up pretty quick.
Yeah, and even if it doesn't, I mean, hopefully the reason we haven't seen a Switch Virtual Console yet is because they're going back to the drawing board and actually bringing it back as, possibly a subscription-based service. But if not, we know Nintendo loves to have every separate game have its own emulator, making a game like Balloon Fight balloon into like a 16 megabyte file, which just makes no sense to me. But yeah, so hopefully we're seeing, this lack of Virtual Console so far means we're going to see maybe a better model that isn't going to just eat up our storage space with 16-bit or 16 megabyte NES games.
Well, I think with the NES Classic and Super NES Classic, we're already seeing them moving to a single emulator for the entire package. So I'd be very surprised if they make it, you package each one separately like they did before. But yeah, I hope they go with a subscription service route. But anyways, we're kind of getting off track here. Now, something else that was in, that it was in the reveal trailer was, I think, 4 or 5 games. We saw, they showed off the guy playing Zelda at home, and then we had Skyrim, Skyrim being played on the airplane, Mario Kart in a car, NBA 2K, I think, at the basketball court, and then Mario on the rooftop, and what else?
Splatoon at the end.
2, yeah.
Splatoon 2, yeah.
And pretty much all those games are either out or about to be out.
Wasn't that also the first time we saw Mario Odyssey in action?
It was. And
Yeah.
So I got it in yesterday, almost a year to the day, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing how little we know. Like, I was watching that footage, it's like, man, we didn't even know about the capping mechanic at that point.
No, we still didn't even in January either, which is nuts as well. But if you go back and watch that initial footage, you can completely see where exactly it takes place in the actual game. Like, it's remarkably similar to the at least the preview events you played at.
No, totally. And it's also been great to see stuff like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Splatoon 2. We didn't even know that's what those were back then. We were like, wait, why are they playing Mario Kart 8 with, is that a Boo? Wait, does that mean there are new tracks? And of course there were no new tracks, but there's battle mode. But even Splatoon 2, we're like, is this like Splatoon for Nintendo Switch or like Splatoon 1.5? Like, what is this game? So even then, we had no context for what eventually ended up being Deluxe and Splatoon 2. But I think I was actually going to say the same thing you did, Andre. I think it's really impressive that every single game that we saw in this initial reveal trailer has come out within the first year, or is coming out within the first year of the Switch's release. Like,
more like the first 7 or 8 months, really.
Yeah. No, honestly, like, the Switch represents one of Nintendo's absolute best year ones that I think we have ever seen in the company's history.
I agree.
And it's such a massive turnaround from Wii U, too. Like, when you think about how they went from rock bottom, essentially, to, I'm not ready to call it Wii-style lightning in a bottle yet, but it sure seems to be getting close, and it may even exceed it at the end of the day. Like, the Switch is on track
it might be able to hold on better than the Wii just because it is a little bit closer in power at this point. The mobile element, it really helps it, and the fact that Wii was eventually inundated by a bunch of shovelware, and who knows, that might happen with the Switch as well, but I don't think it's as shovelware-centric as the Wii could be. And it's also, I mean, just from our standpoints, how much of a difference a year makes. Like, struggling to find content to talk about with the Wii U, and the 3DS was really just Pokemon at that point. It was like, okay, let's get Sun and Moon out so I have something to cover and talk about. And tons and tons and tons of NX rumors, and talking about that, about what it could be, and talking about the potential, the excitement for it, wondering about whether Nintendo's insane that they have still not revealed what this damn system is.
That's what we thought it'd be at E3, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was
just
Zelda.
They held it back for so long.
They did.
I also love how the idea of a starving Nintendo fan has almost become its own like anti-meme, because that used to be, you could easily make fun of, Nintendo fans having to wait months on the Wii U between like tentpole releases, but with the Switch, it literally every week in the eShop is like a cornucopia of stuff that I want to play. Like, I've said it before, but the Switch, at least for me personally, has so quickly become like the indie platformer dream system. Like, there's so many awesome platformers to play on this system at any given time, but not even just platformers. Like, there are so many good indie games releasing almost every week. There's literally too much to play on the Switch.
There is
not enough time to play it.
Like, I mean, this is gonna sound terrible to say. Like, I'm a little bit disappointed that I have to take a break from Stardew Valley now in order to play Mario. I know, God forbid. No, like, I'm playing more indie games than I ever had before. The selection rather on Switch is fantastic. I don't mind investing into the Switch ecosystem. Like, I feel like this is a true investment into like a solid platform. Like, just because of its ease of use and the fact I can play it literally anywhere. Like, I don't mind shelling out money for more games on this as opposed to other platforms where I may have thought twice. Like, do I really want to go to the living room and turn on like my PS4 or something and play this game I may not like that much? Whereas on the Switch, it's just so easy to play anywhere that I feel like it opens up opportunities to experiment with games I may not have otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, like Doom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see just that third-party support, because we saw Skyrim, which gave us hope. We saw basketball, a realistic sports game, gave us a lot of hope too. It's like, oh man, maybe Nintendo can finally court third parties, and we saw that lineup of like who's working with them. And so far it seems like Bethesda and Square Enix love the Switch. Like, Bethesda's porting 3 different games to the Switch right now. Square Enix has original titles, some other classic titles, just doing so much, and they really seem behind this system. And even like the fact that we have a Rockstar game coming to the Switch in November. That's insane.
Yeah, it is bringing back third parties, it seems. Now we'll see whether they'll last or not, but I do think we're going to see even more support within the next year or so. Like, I think third parties are only now ramping up development. They're like, oh crap, the Switch is a success. Time to start porting games or making games for it. So it's going to take a while for us to see the full result of that labor. But yeah, it's exciting. I was encouraged when I saw the like when we saw the reveal. It's like, okay, I can see where Nintendo's going with this, but I don't think we didn't know if it was going to be a success or not. And the fact that it has been is, it is surprising. Well, not necessarily surprising, but it's nice to see, I guess. And
yeah. There was an excitement there, but there was also just that trepidation, like, okay, can Nintendo pull this off? Like, we had no idea at that point.
It's amazing how little we actually knew then, too. I mean, basically what we saw is what we got. We saw the system, we saw the idea behind the system, and of course we got the name as well. We knew nothing else. We didn't know about the price. We didn't know if the touchscreen was a touchscreen then. We didn't know the Joy-Cons had independent motion controls. There was so much we did. We had as many questions as we did answers that day, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, well, I also think, when we saw that Switch trailer eventually, the reveal trailer, we were looking at it from the perspective of, long-suffering Nintendo fans who survived the Wii U era. So we were seeing all these great games on the Switch, and it's like, yeah, these look great, but when are they coming out? Are they going to be these great games where they come out months apart with nothing in between yet again? It's like, okay, this new Splatoon looks awesome. Oh, great, new Mario. Oh, man, that looks like Skyrim. Oh, man, looks so cool. But, is there going to be anything to play in between these major tentpole releases? Because for Wii U, there really was not.
No.
That is what has made the difference. It's not just that Nintendo landed on a great idea with the Switch. It's also that they've been able to finish what Iwata started before his passing and really modernize themselves and keep up and quicken their 3D game development and really just quicken their overall turnaround times on games in general. And so I think it's just two-pronged success where we're seeing not only a great idea that Nintendo's landed on with the Switch, but also their internal development culture is just so much better than it has been for the past several years.
Mm-hmm. It really feels like they're letting the new blood step up. They realized they gotta let this new blood step up. And I think what kind of helped facilitate that was Splatoon. And they realized what these young developers could do. So, yeah, I mean, they just like, okay, let's give them a shot. Let's see what they can do. Let's take a look at these new ideas. And that's how Breath of the Wild was completely changed around and like throwing out long-standing conventions in order to do something new. And you can kind of see that with Super Mario Odyssey, how they threw out some conventions. Like, they finally got rid of lives, which is what people have been begging for a long time.
Yeah, I had that when my 5 things Mario has to do, and they listen. So
yeah, there you go.
And not only that, but like you can also see the kind of the young blood stepping up, bearing out in ways like just the theme song for Super Mario Odyssey, and just the fact that they're basically tearing Mario timeline theorists' lives asunder by bringing Pauline and all the Donkey Kong references into the overall shared Mario world, and it's like, wait, how does this even make sense? But I don't think this is something that the old guard would have done. I don't think Odyssey, as it exists now, is something we ever would have seen on the Wii or Wii U. And I'm not even talking technically. I just mean conceptually.
Proper lyrics in a Mario game? What?
Yeah, and just like and Mario interacting with realistically proportioned people.
Yeah.
Like it's just there's so many weird oddball ideas on display in both Odyssey and Breath of the Wild that you can really see. Like it's exciting because it's like this is still indelibly Nintendo, but you can tell it's a fresh, young, vivacious Nintendo that's doing things a little differently than what we've gotten used to, and it's super exciting.
The name Nintendo Switch really is far broader than just applying to the console itself.
Yeah.
It really does feel like a different Nintendo we're dealing with to some degree now, and that is, like, as a longtime Nintendo fan, that's exciting to see them really try, step outside their comfort zone and try new things.
Yeah, and we were unsure about the name at first. Like I was like, okay, I get what they're going with here, but I'm not sure. Maybe it's because it was very likely because we were just so used to NX at that point.
Do you remember we kept screwing up in the discussion? We kept saying NX instead of Switch.
Yeah, it's crazy. Sort of like when we first heard Breath of the Wild and kept messing that one up.
Breath of the Wind.
Breath of the Wind. And just trying to wrap our heads around it. But now the name fits really well. They immediately stumbled upon something just instantly iconic with that clicking sound at the beginning of every one of the trailers. Like that happens, you know what you're in for.
I went back and listened to our discussion, and one of the key points I made then, I don't know why, was that I wanted to snap the controllers in and out, over and over. And sure enough, I've done that. Like, that's fun. I love it. It's as satisfying as I hoped it would be.
Yeah, and it remains satisfying even almost a year after the consoles come out. It's like, I don't know, the novelty of the Switch has not worn off for me 8 months or however many months we are in. Like, I still enjoy just the act of picking it up and disattaching the Joy-Con or deattaching the Joy-Con and just using it and just beholding how cool a device it is. Like, the novelty of the Switch absolutely has not worn off on me.
I think you nailed it there. Like, I think that's partially why it doesn't feel like a year ago we found out what the Switch is, because we've had it now for 7 or 8 months in our hands, and it still feels like a new hot product. Like, it doesn't feel like it's just fun to use. The novelty hasn't worn off. I completely agree with that. It's weird because when it was announced, I'll admit, in the discussion when I went back and listened, I was a little bit disappointed because it was exactly what the rumors had said and pretty much nothing more. Part of the reason why I was disappointed was because it wasn't really changing how we play the games, or rather how we play games themselves. But it really has changed how we do play the games, or where we play the games. And in that sense, it's like one of the most exciting things Nintendo's made in a long time. So, yeah, and I think it's the kind of thing, too, that, as I touched on when we actually got to try it in January, Ash, at the New York event, it's something you can't fully appreciate until you try it for yourself, where you can see where you actually understand all these different use case scenarios for the Switch, and especially more so once you actually get it at home, that you just can't appreciate seeing in a trailer, which even though we were able to some degree, it's really when you play it for yourself that you understand, it's like, wow, this really is a game changer with how we play these games now.
Yeah, no, totally. I had a couple of, even diehard Nintendo fans who were, talking to me about the Switch around the release, and this was before release, but after you and I had played it at the New York event, Andre, and I told them, I was like, you just gotta trust me. Like, the trailer does a good job selling the concept, but it doesn't sell it can't sell the idea of how cool it is actually having one.
Yeah, the
and when
full
you see it in
impact.
person, you just have to play it. And there's like, no, man, it just looks like, I don't know, too underpowered, and I don't know. I'm like, God, just trust me. I played the thing. Just trust me. And then, of course, they were like, yeah, you're right. This is actually really damn cool. I'm like, yeah, I know. I told you. But no, like, it really, Nintendo has really struck on something big here. And I also have to give a special shout out to the Joy-Con controllers. Like, I love those things.
They're great.
I love them conceptually. I love just looking at them, especially the neon ones. I think they look cool. All the new colors that have come out look great, and they're just I guess like the gadget geek in me just loves them from a gadget standpoint. They're these cool little, they're like small controllers, but they're still somehow comfortable, reasonably comfortable to hold sideways, even for people with big hands like me. And I just don't know how they managed to pull that off. Obviously, it's not perfect, but they're so cool. I love those little things, and they're pretty comfortable.
Mm-hmm. And there's plenty of accessories out there now. That like there's a better stand that you can have right now. There's these like Joy-Con like slots that you can pop them in. That's really comfortable. It gives them more of a controller shape. Still just as tiny, but just slot them in there and you're good to go. And it feels really comfortable. I gotta commend Nintendo, and they're even keeping the thing pretty well in stock with how the demand is. Like it's been a while, but I went to a Walmart, saw 3 Switches on them, 2 of which were Splatoon bundles.
Well, speaking of accessories, did Nintendo ever release the car accessory they showed off in the ad?
No. I feel like they should have by this point, or maybe somebody else did, but that should have been a thing, because that's perfect for kids in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually,
I'm sure the third-party one's out there, so I'd be shocked if there aren't actually. And speaking of that car scene, real quick, I'm still disappointed though that for as much as like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I'm still annoyed that they completely trolled us in that reveal with them referencing Double Dash in 3 different ways, and it's not like Double Dash.
Yeah,
those jerks.
Yeah. Going on what you were saying, Derek, about things just working, I have to, give a little shout out to, the fact that, bring things back to the present, we just got a new system update that added functionality that actually makes sense to me. Like, I feel like the Wii U got a lot of little minor firmware updates that added things that I would never personally use, but lo and behold, the Switch just got this update yesterday, and I can now plug and play my PlayStation wireless headphones with the Switch, and it just works. And I'm like, Nintendo, you're actually listening and adding things that make sense, that are things that people, at least like myself, would want. And I just love now that I have these things lying around that suddenly the Switch works with. And it continues to add functionality that, frankly, I don't think Nintendo would have even gotten a memo with a system like the Wii U or it prior, because they didn't used to be very forward-thinking with little cool tech things like that. But now we're seeing that they are.
Video recording on an OS
Video
level?
recording, yeah.
Yeah.
I was never expecting that on a Nintendo system.
It gives the hope that they'll eventually listen and get themes for your main menu, as well as restructuring the eShop so it's a little easier to find games, because with so many games coming out there, the eShop is just not built to handle that many. It's kind of tricky to find what you want to find, so they need to have a better way of actually going through and making sure all these great games are easy to find and see. Like, fortunately, there's a top 20 sellers, so you can always see what people are behind, but that still sort of leaves out the smaller games that you still might enjoy. So hopefully that kind of Nintendo still continues on as they as they sort of work on the Switch to make it even better.
You know what else the eShop needs?
Virtual console?
Music.
Oh, that's it.
Of course.
I just want my Nintendo elevator music back. They were so good at that, like, system level user interface music. That's just, it should be so boring, but it's just so fun.
It's kind of true. I agree with you. Like from a player perspective, as one who makes videos all the time, though, I'm actually really glad the home. Well, I guess you're talking about the eShop specifically, but I'm glad the home menu doesn't have any music, because I can just.
That's
it
fair.
that way. Yeah.
I am specifically just talking about the eShop, because I just, like, every eShop storefront theme has been so damn catchy over the years. I was looking forward to it.
Whenever I make a tour video of like a new feature on the eShop, I have to add my own background music to it, like from the previous eShops, because it sounds so naked without it, so quiet.
Yeah.
Just doesn't quite sound right. I agree. I do agree. So
yeah. But that actually does lead me to another point, and we kind of touched on this briefly earlier, but just the brilliance of the name. Like, I don't think it quite stuck at first, and we were like, oh, Nintendo Switch, like, I'm not sure, but picking a name for their new console that is just so much part of the vernacular already, it's just a regular word. People say Switch all the time. Like, it automatically gets that thing in your head as a product you might want, and it's not something completely makes no sense like Wii U. Like, there was no concept behind that. Like,
None.
what? That didn't sell itself to anybody. But Nintendo Switch, you see what it does, you think of the name, you hear that sound, and it all comes together instantly. It's so smart.
They really nailed it when it comes to the marketing for the system from the get-go. Like, especially compared to the Wii U, minus maybe a few exceptions in the January event, but overall, they've completely nailed it. And I agree, the name is great. I love the branding of it, the logo even with the the yin yang thing still. It's all fantastic. And I remember shortly after the Switch came out, when you would Google just Switch images, it'll bring up routers. But now if you Google just Switch, there's a Nintendo Switch right away. So clearly it's it's become a part of, people are aware of the Switch now. I mean, non-gamers are aware of the Switch, whereas with the Wii U, people to this day still don't know what the Wii U is. Whereas you could ask those same people and they know what the Switch is.
Exactly, and I think that tells the whole story right there, basically.
Yeah.
Yes, they've done something really right with their marketing department with the Switch, and whether for the system itself, like that launch trailer for it, where they had the Imagine Dragons song as part of it, that just like what the hell, Nintendo? Why are you kind of cool all of a sudden? This isn't right. And then, as we said before, the Odyssey trailer, the trailers for Zelda, like they just nailed the marketing for these games every single time.
Yeah. I wonder if the Switch, even if it's not, I don't know how the sales compared to the Wii at this point, but let's just say it's not selling even as well as, let's say it's not selling as well as the Switch was. Despite that, which it may be, I don't know, I feel like the Switch is building a stronger foundation for Nintendo's future. The Wii was fantastic and brilliant, but I don't think, I mean, clearly it didn't build a sustainable base for them, whereas I think the Switch may be.
They learned that, like, while it's great to have evergreen titles to get people that maybe don't play games for as much as others to play the game, that's great for short term.
Right.
Didn't really work out for them long term, as they discovered with the Wii U.
Especially with mobile gaming kind of taking over that market as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they needed to get more of a foundational experience, draw in the people that really supported them, those hardcore Nintendo fans, those sort of lapsed Nintendo fans, bring them in, and the Switch has done that really well so far.
And it's also the first Nintendo, system I've played, because they are still billing it as a console, and I'll still consider it a console, but it is the first Nintendo console I've played that has almost invalidated a piece of hardware for me. And I say that weirdly because I have told you guys, I love the 3DS. I got so much use out of mine. I adore that system. I like the stereoscopic 3D. Like, I am a true blue diehard 3DS guy. I love that system. But I have so much less incentive now to play it after the Switch came out, to the point where I'm actively wishing, and I feel like I'm being one of those obnoxious internet people who are like, man, I wish Metroid Samus Returns was on the Switch instead. Man, I wish Mario Party was on this. But it's true, I really do wish that. I'm not just trying to troll. It's like, I love the 3DS, but the Switch has utterly invalidated it for me, and I've never had that experience with another Nintendo console, or really any other console.
As much as I may hate making that argument, Ash, that's probably the most elegant way you could have put it. It really does.
It's true, yeah.
It has invalidated the 3DS. Like, I'm right there with you. Like, Mario Party went from a game that I would have been excited about on the Switch to being one I really don't care about. I have no interest in playing that game on 3DS. My friends, I'm not going to get together my friends, all of us with our 3DSs, and play Mario Party.
Exactly.
That's not how it's going to work for us. So I'm sure some people will. Maybe they'll have a great time. But yeah, at this point, like, it's all about the Switch. And I guess maybe this is a good time, real quick, to maybe just talk about where we hope the Switch goes from here. Because we don't have much idea of its future at this point. Mario and Xenoblade are its biggest titles. Beyond that, we really only, for first party specifically, beyond that, we really only know about Yoshi and Kirby. And that's about it.
We do know that there's another core Fire Emblem game in development.
Yes.
True, and Pokemon as well.
And Pokemon. And I mean, I think we can all safely surmise that Smash is going to be coming at some point. It's just a matter of when.
This next year, you think?
It has to be.
I think so.
I would think so. Plus, we also have Metroid Prime 4, though I don't see that as a 2018 title.
I don't either. 2019 for Metroid, 2018 for Smash. By holidays, perhaps sooner. So, but I will guess probably by holidays. I'm guessing now at this point there'll be an E3 reveal. It'll be a November, or fall title. So
yeah,
that's what I'm thinking. Is you got to you think at this point Nintendo realizes that really the only reason anyone is keeping their Wii U hooked up is because of Smash.
Yeah.
So they want to get that on Switch, and I see that being like a holiday 2018 thing. But I agree with you, Derek. Metroid Prime 4 feels like early 2019 to me or something.
And I mean, we also hear constantly about Pikmin 4. I'm sure that'll be a thing. It'd probably be a good summer title.
That's a great point. I was just going to bring up the fact that I feel like we need to know about at least one other big title down the line, or see one at least within the next couple of months, because beyond Xenoblade, there's not a whole lot there to really excite the Switch fan base, I feel like. So I think they may have to show off something in the upcoming Direct, maybe in January, for instance. Because I don't think they can wait until E3 to start showing off more big titles.
They would definitely want to highlight what's coming out for the spring and early summer up until E3. Get people excited for that, what might be coming, all those different ideas. And who knows, maybe third parties can fill in those gaps. Certainly indie games did it this year, but with more third party support, you can just have both of them fill in the gaps until Nintendo gets their big game, which is also good for those third party games because they won't have to try to compete with the Marios, the Zeldas, the Metroids, what have you.
That kind of raises another point, is that they've already gone through a lot of their biggest games. We already had Zelda and Mario within not even the first year, the first like 9 months, which is crazy. Then we already got Splatoon, we got brand new IP in the form of ARMS.
And technically Mario Kart.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
technically.
Yeah.
And we even have another brand new franchise for them in ARMS. Like, I mean, in addition to Splatoon. So it really has been an incredible first year for Nintendo, and I mean, we know Kirby and Yoshi are coming, so really so many of the bases have already been covered. I would like to hope that maybe finally we'll see the revival of F-Zero on the Switch. I would really like to hope that. I don't know if I actually think it's going to happen, but if Metroid can return after 7 years, maybe it's time for F-Zero to come back.
Maybe it's time to just in general dig into those old franchises they haven't really touched in a while and do something with them.
Ice Climbers Uprising.
There we go.
There we go. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what we get down the line, because now that they have gone through a lot of their biggest franchises, I think we're going to start getting maybe, I don't want to say obscure, but, the less mainline titles, I think. I mean, I think that's exciting in of itself. Like, we're going to get maybe some different stuff coming down the line, hopefully. So
I do think we'll probably see at least a few more Wii U ports. Like, there are certain games I know that they have to want to get more traction out of.
So I definitely agree on the Wii U port idea. I think we will get some, or maybe even Wii ports. I could see, maybe a Mario Galaxy compilation at some point. I would love a Donkey Kong Country compilation.
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah. Well, there's another Mario game for Wii U that absolutely they do want associated with the Switch, and that is Super Mario Maker. Do you think that's going to be on the Switch within the next year? Because that feels to me less like a Wii U and 3DS game and more like a platform. Like, there's no way Nintendo doesn't want to build out from that and make Mario Maker a thing on Switch, because, you could share levels at home, take them on the go, play them. They got to be working on that.
I think it has to be coming. Mario Maker did very well for Nintendo, and I think if we get it in any form, it'll be a full sequel, like a brand new features.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna blow it out. I don't think it'll just be a port.
I agree,
especially because I think the 3DS one too kind of like ran that one into the ground. So I think we're gonna get a brand new refresh of Super Mario Maker, or if not that, some kind of Maker. So which I think would be Mario Maker 2 or maybe a Zelda Maker or something, which I would love. So
that would be sweet too. Yeah,
it'd be really cool. Can't believe I almost forgot about this one, even though I'm not a huge fan of the series, but it's still a major series that has a lot of fans, and they're desperately waiting for this one. Animal Crossing has to be announced at some point.
Oh yeah, that's coming. That is definitely 2018.
Has to be coming next year.
Yeah,
it has to be. I mean, if you just think about everything Animal Crossing is. Makes itself, it's perfect for the Switch. Like, it literally exists to be on a system like Switch.
Yeah, it does.
It really does.
Like, I feel like, the timing for it might work out too, depending when it comes out. Like, when people are winding down in Stardew Valley, they can hop right into Animal Crossing where they're living in another town, so.
And, we could end up seeing, this is going a bit off topic, but we could, because the timelines might sync up, we could see some interesting functionality between Animal Crossing Switch and Animal Crossing Mobile, should they come out, within orbit of one another.
Good point. You're totally right there.
If we ever hear anything about Animal Crossing Mobile ever again.
Yeah,
right.
I think a trend that I would like to see happen next year with the Switch for the year 2 is to see all these third-party developers who, understandably, were not ready to jump in from the word go and have kind of waited. Companies like Capcom, for instance. I hope we see year 2. We see these companies kind of reacting appropriately and getting so many of the franchises that fans want on the Switch. I mean, I think this actually it came up perfectly to me when we were talking, Derek, last week in the podcast about Square Enix, the Secret of Mana director, saying, "Hey, we understand that you want the Secret of Mana remake on Switch. We just literally couldn't have planned for that because when we were developing it or began development, the Switch wasn't a thing yet. We didn't have dev kits." So I could see that being the case for other games like Mega Man Legacy Collection 2, whatever. So I'm hoping that we see some of these companies who were slow to adopt the Switch because they were burned on the Wii U so badly, really kind of be like, okay, hey, we need to acclimate. We got to get this stuff on Switch now.
And, I mean, Square Enix, it definitely has some major support coming next year between Dragon Quest Builders, which is an excellent game and perfect for the Switch, Octopath Traveler, which I cannot wait to play more of. That demo was fantastic. So you got something great there. We know Dragon Quest XI is coming to the Switch in Japan. We don't know if that'll get localized like the PS4 version is, but still, it's still a major RPG that can continue that support. And there's the consistent rumors for the Final Fantasy 15 on Switch, so whatever form that might take, we'll see if that happens or not. So I do like the fact that Square Enix is so on board with the Switch.
Yeah, the future is exciting. We'll see what happens. Like, I can't wait to find out more. Once we get past the holiday season, we're going to have to find out. So here's hoping.
Switch over into 2018.
There we go.
There you go.
All right. Well, I think that does wrap it up for us here. So thanks, guys, for watching. And if you like our video, make sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain. You can find links to them in the description below. It's a good way to keep up to date on everything we post. And of course, stay tuned to GameXplain for lots more on the Nintendo Switch, including a proper full 1-year discussion once we reach the March 3rd anniversary in a few months, and everything else Nintendo as well. Catch you later. Bye.